Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get this started then. Thank you guys for coming. This is our April chapter chat. We're covering budgeting and finances. So just to cover, kind of towards the end of the year, how your budget should look, money, where should be coming in, where you should be spending, so and so. So let's go ahead and get this kicked off. So we'll do some quick welcomes, some introductions, everyone get to know each other, and then we'll go into a couple of big events coming up on the HQ side, a couple of programming updates, and then we'll go into our budgeting and then a bit of a Q&A, and we can just talk more. And if you have any questions, we can kind of go through there and hopefully, have some good discussions. So if you aren't already, this is a quick plug, please join our Slack. I think you guys might already be, but if you're not, it's a great place to connect with other chapters, talk to HQ, start different channels on important topics. So the link is pretty easy, quick, tiny URL. Then you can log in with your school email, any email you want. And then, as always, make sure you're receiving emails from chapters at eswusa.org for any important updates. So without further ado, we are your chapter relations coordinators. I'm Matthew, and then you can see your territories here. And if you haven't heard from your CRC, please reach out to any of us. Let us know. We'll make sure you're connected to them. If not, just give a friendly shout out to your CRC. Without further ado, let's do some introductions and everyone can get to know each other. So I'm Matthew Vu. I went to University of Texas at Austin a while ago, kind of old now. I am a chapter relations coordinator. I've been a part of ESW for about 9-10 years now. I'll go ahead and popcorn it off to the next person. So Emily, you want to go?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Emily. I went to the University of Akron. I'm the CRC for Akron. Currently, I was president my senior year, and I've been in ESW with a slight gap of about 3 years. So I will popcorn it over to Shayla.
Hi, I'm Shayla. I go to UT Austin. I am going to be the treasurer next year, and this is my first year at ESW. And I'm going to popcorn it to Subeda.
Hi, I'm Subeda, and I am the current president of the UT Austin chapter, and I've been in ESW for 3 years now. And I'm going to popcorn it to Daniel.
Hi, everyone. My name's Daniel. I am the CRC for some of the Western chapters. I went to Seattle University, where I was a member of the ESW chapter there. I have been a CRC, this is my 3rd year, and I can popcorn it to Carly in chat. I think our last person is Sarah.
Hey everyone, glad to have you on this call. I'm Sarah Bar-Engel, the COO of ESW. I've been with ESW in a variety of ways for 9 years now, and excited to help you all figure out how to make your teams and your chapters the best they can be.
Perfect. So without further ado, this is our chapter chat. If you haven't been here before, the whole purpose is we want to create a venue for inter-chapter communication, get to know other chapters, allow chapters to talk to other chapters to, see similar experiences or difficult problems and provide guidance and kind of really help further, chapters by learning from others. Definitely please talk. Unfortunately, it looks like only UT is here, so we'll learn a lot from UT, and you can have a private lesson from all the CRCs and experience that we have. But we're still very open to the discussion. But yeah, please come ready with some questions as we go through this presentation. But before we do that, just a quick couple of big notes and dates coming up. Right now, obviously, our chapter chat. Next week, we have a workforce development and Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure workshop. That's on the 15th. And then our project showcase is going to be on the 23rd. So we already have some interest. If you guys are interested in doing it, please reach out to your CRC, or you should have received a link in your email to sign up. It'll be very cool just to showcase some of your projects, get to see some other cool projects going on through UT. It's basically a poster board session, but virtually. Then the spring project grant cycle closes till May 1st, so you still got some time to put something together and hopefully get a project going. More info will come. Just again, here's the quick 2023-2024 timeline. I won't go, into each section, but you can kind of see some of the big highlights that I was talking about. And annual report will be coming towards the end of May or middle of May, or it'll come out later this month, but then it'll be due sometime in May. Without further ado, so just to dive into it a little bit more, the spring project grant cycle to open. Usually we only have it in the fall, but we're doing it kind of throughout the year now. Average grants are about $750 up to $1,000. The application process isn't too hard. Just come with a good vision in mind. And we're taking applications all the way through May 1st, so apply early. Just to hype it up, a couple of past project grants. Iowa, they had a hydroponics project. Akron, Future Earth. UCSD, they had a solar car. Buffalo, they had a range recycling, plastic recycling, produce dehydrator, and some biochar from Cornell. So some very cool projects that we've already done, and we're hoping for some more this coming year. So again, also to talk a little bit more, here's our project showcase. It's coming on the 23rd. Feel free to take a quick scan of the QR codes. The bottom left is to sign up, and the bottom right is to add the event to your Google Calendar. Even if you don't want to present your project, please still attend and learn about some really cool projects and show some support. Just to show, here was our ESWCon 2023 in Cornell. Some super cool posters going on. I don't remember them off the top of my head what they are, but some really, really cool projects, and a great way to showcase what you've done, and a really great way to learn from a lot of other chapters, how they handle projects. Come ready with questions of, how they solve different problems, how you can apply it to your own projects. So again, another great tool to collaborate with other chapters. And without further ado, I'll pass it off for budgeting to Emily.
Yeah, so just to start, we'll have a light discussion. As Matt said, only UT Austin seems to be here. But maybe this is a good time because it sounds like Shayla's going to be the next president from Savita. So, what's the budgeting process been like? Are there templates you guys have? Do you have leftover budgets from the previous year? Who's your finance person? That sort of thing.
I think to start off, our chapter's budgeting process is a bit difficult because our department that we work with for like engineering student life, they changed how the process works, and they now no longer give us monthly updates of our account, and instead we have to we just get it once a semester. And so we've been trying to do the mental math instead of oh well, we need to get this many corporate sponsors, and this is rough math. Thankfully we were able to handle everything fine, and we have around $2K now, and so that's pretty good, pretty solid. But we're definitely gonna see if we can make a more specific budgeting process next year. And there hasn't really been a guide. Treasurer these past few years has been a little bit of a rough position, just because each treasurer has had to learn from scratch, and then they unfortunately get busy towards the end of the year. So for some reason it was a trend from the last 3 treasurers, and so yeah, it's been a bit rough. But we definitely do want to have leftover budget at the end of the year, because we want to help fund our activities in the summer and next year. And our treasurer is responsible for budgeting. As for a budget for next year, we haven't, because we're just about to transition, so we can do that in our transition meeting. How to organize budget, we don't, unfortunately, so hopefully we will soon. And in the past, there have been discussions of if we should delegate certain amounts to certain branches, but we realized that some branches use absolutely no money, and others need all of the money, like people who are in internal, which are like coordinating meetings, food, and like all of the event decorations, things like that. And then the biggest challenges is figuring it out.
Yeah, so like my experience at Akron, I'm impressed that they even told you how much you had a month. Our budgeting system at Akron, you did not know. Um, so like we have, and in the next I'll show you a demo of something that we had built at the time I was there that they have modified in the last year, but yeah, we had projects, we tried to do it by project even with us, and we kind of found ways. It was our way of keeping projects engaged with funding. So you know, if you're having projects that are really expensive or really taking up the funding that you have, but they're not really helping contribute to that funding. Our workaround was for funding events, we tried to keep it pretty level of, well, education team members came to get funding for food and prizes for their events, whereas our metal team hasn't come, but now they want to build this forge and we don't really have the funds for them. So something to keep in mind, you know, while it might be kind of challenging, like we have an eco breaking team at Akron, and they they pretty much take all of the scraps from all the other projects, so they don't really need a lot of funding. So then from there, you know, it might be a conversation of, well, can we use this funding somewhere else? And if they're fine with it, you know, I think that's a good way to keep the level playing field, but whatever works. It seems like there's other things that are causing issues, like knowing how much you have that should be addressed first. But any other thoughts? Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I just found it really interesting. Obviously, I went to UT as well, and I was the president, so it's crazy how different the budget works now compared to what I did this year. So the only advice that I really do have, just from my perspective, is I know it is tough to get that transition, especially each treasurer is learning. It's just getting that transition process down. So it's tough. That's been a tough couple of years, but hopefully this year will be a good one, and you can get these transition documents set, and hopefully, you know, kind of get back on track of having that passed down from treasurer to treasurer.
But if you want to move to the next slide, Matt, um, just some overall advice. It's good to create one early. So in this transition period, it would probably be good to think about, you know, your costs and what pieces you're going to need for next year for your projects, even if it's a rough estimate. You know, we had the discussion in our CRC meeting about certain requirements that grants might have. Again, like my time at Akron, we had a grant and it was really specific on what we had to use it for a project that needed other things spent. So if you know some of the grants or some of the sponsorships you're getting that have to be used for certain things, you can track it in something like this. And I'll show you this in a demo just in a second, but it is very good to start early. Early is better because you can always adjust. So with that, I believe the next slide is a little demo. So if you want to stop sharing for a second, I can share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, okay. So this is a replica of what we had. Can you guys still see my screen and hear me?
Yep.
Yes, okay. Sorry, my Zoom keeps saying it's crashing on me. So if I crashed, I'm so sorry. But
Oh, I think we did lose you that time.
like that, just like that. Okay. I'm gonna do it as quickly as I can. You're looking at the wrong. So sorry. I don't use it very often. This might not work.
Pull up this next slide and Danny can take over.
Yeah, sounds good. So a few more pieces of advice from our previous experience and other chapters. Obviously super important is to determine how much money your club has. So it sounds like at UT, they've been telling you every term. So just recording that so you can adequately budget and determine where you want to dispense that funding. And then next you want to figure out where money can come from. So that could come from the university, whether that's, student government, student activities fund, some organization that helps manage money for on-campus clubs. It could come from your college or from any specific departments, whether that's the College of Engineering, or if you have more specific projects, you might get money for a solar project from electrical engineering, or for hydroponics might come from environmental engineering or something like that. Next, you want to make sure how you can properly secure this funding. Oftentimes, you're going to have to apply in one way or another. So when you're in your transitions, that's something super important to keep track of, is if there's one person who knows how to apply and has done it before, and maybe they're graduating, make sure the next people know, make sure that information is passed off to whoever's going to be taking over. Because figuring out that stuff from scratch is usually not too hard, but it is a bit of a headache. And then you're also going to want to document all your transactions. That's just going to help you figure out, keep your budget, figure out in between periods where you learn how much money you really have. You can keep track of it yourself. Then on the next slide, we have some sources of funding, if you're not quite sure where to look. So at UT, where do you guys typically get your funding from?
Usually corporate sponsors.
Okay. And do you expect that to be pretty consistent?
Yes, we have a designated role like vice president corporate. And so for our general meetings, usually we have a company speaker, but we're thinking of doing more like different events next year. So we might have a more diverse amount of like the money that we receive, as well as like if we apply for more grants, because at UT there's this thing called Green Fund where like $5 from everyone's tuition goes to this huge funding source for like any environmental related project. And so a lot of our projects apply to that green fund and get their main source of money there. So it doesn't really like coincide with the main ESW funds.
Okay, that's super cool. That sounds like a really neat program. So it sounds like you have a well-organized relationship with your corporate sponsors. And so just staying on top of that, again, with your transitions, making sure that you can maintain those relationships is super important. And then, of course, there's project grants. We have the spring cycle this year, which is new. Just another way to get money. Do you guys have experience with ESW project grants?
Yes, I think it took forever to get the money just because of our like UT postal system, but we got the money. So we got it for our solar powered smoothie cart. So we finally got the money to be able to work on our project.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I think
Just
that's all we
a-
have for funding.
curiosity, sorry, I just out of curiosity, because I know a lot of other chapters struggle with corporate sponsors. What is your process like? And maybe this is a better question for that person, but um, like who do you reach out to in a company and how do you identify those people?
We actually, thankfully, since our chapter has been here for a while, we have a good source of like alumni, but because COVID broke a lot of those like connections between like the alumni and like current students, we've had to cold email a lot of recruiters and also like people who we find on LinkedIn. We have a spreadsheet for a lot of different companies, and then we have a corporate packet. And so what that corporate packet is basically like how much the companies can pay us and what we have to offer. And so a lot of the companies that we go for are usually like civil slash environmental because that's the main like part of our member base. But we definitely try to um, have a lot of speakers that relate to sustainability and they don't have to pay us. Like we try to balance the two. Like we had this one sustainable concrete company. We had another one that was like working on like um, microorganisms breaking apart plastic, but those companies didn't pay us, while big firms like CDM Smith, HDR, Floor, companies like that, they have a recruiting budget, so we ask for money from them. And then once we send our corporate packet, they can give us the money like either through check or like we have a donation website on like as a part of our UT organization. And yeah, that's basically how we do it. I think the hardest part is like getting the companies to respond, but it's just a lot of cold emailing and contacting and calling.
Okay. No, that's good. Yeah, that's where we always fell through was we just wouldn't get a response. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely pass that along for my chapter at least.
Yeah, one thing, just speaking from experience that I remember us doing was at the career fairs, we would bring those corporate packets and try to talk to the companies there and kind of have that face-to-face value as well. Obviously, I know it's a little tougher with some people, but we did get a lot of responses showing that face-to-face, and it looks good. Whoever's doing it shows you're pretty active, so that could be something to consider if you're able to. But definitely corporate packet is the way to go. I can't endorse it enough.
And then Sarah did get the demo
Should I
as
go
well.
talk to her then?
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing, Sarah, and then I can just walk through that for UT because like I said, I think it'll be pretty good since you guys don't have a template. I have one built. So here in this first page is kind of your award allocation. So you in the yellow is kind of basically what you would type in, and then the other C through E fills in as you fill out the rest of the tabs. So you can put in, ESW grant, your corporate sponsors. I put in some things that we had done, like ticketing. We'd worked with athletics. We did like a trash cleanup that we somehow managed to get paid for. So it was like a double win. Bake sale. We did a bake sale one time with mild success, but it worked out. So it'll keep track of your awards. And then if you wouldn't mind moving to the project budget tab, here is where that whole budgeting early piece comes in. It's actually that same snippet. So it's a rough idea of how much you need of something and how much that costs. So one big thing was Future Earth that we got that ESW grant for. We needed things like solar cars and wind turbines and pizza and activities and shirts and bags. We needed all these different things that we didn't have like money for yet as we were getting our grants. For some we did. So we had one like through Ohio Space Consortium, and it had to go to things related to renewable energy. So we couldn't use it for the shirts, but we could use it for the wind turbine kits. So here's where you would put things. In the yellow is like where you would type. Now, obviously, we go all the way down. It was just an action out of the yellow. It'll do some calculations for you to get you your totals. And then in the award allocation page, If you wouldn't mind moving back there, that is your column C. It's your estimated. So it'll, there's a formula in it that it'll automatically track like how much you're estimating to use of each grant based on your input. And so it's a good way to see like, well, are you allocating too much money to this one grant and you forgot about this other grant that you have, or funding you have? And then in the tracker page is your receipts, basically. It's what you bought, how much you bought, how much you paid, and what what grant you quote unquote use with it, right? So like us, it was just a generic account, but we needed to keep track of what grant was being used for what project. And so like notes, we forgot to account for tax one time. And that changed the unit price of it, in a sense, right? It doesn't have a tax total, but if you bought one, you paid $55 with tax, then that's the price. So from there, it'll go into the award allocation. Again, it will feed into if you wouldn't mind moving to award allocation, Sarah, sorry. It'll feed into the actuals in column D, and then it'll do in column E is basically like a subtraction of your awarded amount versus your actuals to see where you're at for the whole grant. You could also add an estimated versus actuals to see where you're at with your budgeting, see where you kind of had a big leap, where's the gaps, that sort of thing. And then there's some charts. I always like a good chart. It's always fun to look at it, and everybody looks at charts kind of differently. So while like the two up top are kind of saying the same thing, they look very different. So it's budget versus actuals. There's a double bar graph, and then there's your awarded as a line, but then there's a stacked. And then there's a pie graph to show where you're spending by award. So you can see what award you're using the most. So there's obviously many more graphs you can use, but it's a good visual. I'm a visual person, so I put a bunch of graphs in my things. Some people like a table, so there's the table, but like for us, this was we were kind of in the same boat UT Austin, you seem to be in now, of we didn't have consistent treasurers, and then we had no one really budgeting. And so we were kind of in this weird space of, well, I think we have money, but I don't know how much, and they want money, and they want money. And so what do we spend it on? Where are we? Now you guys have more sponsors than we did, and do, but so yours might be a little more complex than this, but it's a good start, in my opinion. Something like this. If you want it, share it. If not, if you're like, this is stupid, that's fine. But just I think something as simple as this would be a good start. So that's the demo. That was supposed to be in the middle. Thank you, Sarah. I don't know why my Zoom does not let me share. I think that happened last week when I tried to share it. So
No problem.
And if you want, I just see your comment. I'm more than happy to share this out. Or Sarah has it too, so she can share it out, or we can, I don't know what we plan to do with the
Yeah,
recording.
we can send it with the slides.
Yeah. And then you can have it and you can update it, and everything in yellow is what you input and everything not, you don't.
That sounds great. Just as a quick recap, again, our project showcase is coming up on the 23rd. Sign up to present, and you can add the event there. But I wanted to open the floor up to you guys to see if you had any other questions that you didn't get to quite talk about, or anything you want to talk about with us, with each other. Just thought I'd open the floor up to you.
I think it's probably just like familiarizing yourself with like the process that we want to do. our transition meeting for treasurer is coming up soon. So during it, we'll probably talk about like what like strategies we want to do moving forward, because that spreadsheet looks amazing, by the way. And I think that if we like adopt a similar format, it'll be easier for like just in case other officers need to look at it too, like they'll understand it very easily. So thank you so much for that.
I'm not an engineer. That was what I brought to the table, was my Excel skills. So that was what kept me as president. So
Very nice. Well, I think that about sums it up then. If there's nothing else, we can go ahead and kind of end it early. And I just want to thank you, bottom of my heart, thank you for coming, and hook 'em horns always.